There's been a few media members out there that have already gone to that point, and I don't know if they're playing medical expert at the same time and logistics expert in addition to their football acumen and so forth, and surveying the situation, because this takes more than a football analyst to survey the situation and determine at this point, when most of even the experts are saying what's going to happen. We talking weeks, we talking months. Well, we'll have to see. That the next couple weeks are going to be critical in seeing how the numbers either continue to ascend or hopefully flatten out and start to subside.
And Ryan Day said, he was asked, about the possibility of the season being shortened or ended, and he said he's not going to. It's wasted time to even think about that. So they're moving forward, preparing. But like you said, Mark, here in Ohio, they're saying the peak will hit in mid-April to early May, and we'll see what that looks like. When we talked to Gene Smith, 2.5 weeks ago, I don't even know anymore. I asked him about the possibility of the season being canceled, and he said they weren't even able to look that far into the future yet. Now, a lot has happened since then. I don't know how much more will happen, because things moved really quickly in that 2-week period where Big Ten tournament was canceled, conference tournaments were canceled, the NCAA tournament was canceled. Things have been pretty well shut down, so I don't know what else will go into it now, but I wonder, are they starting? I assume they're starting to look further into the future, but I'm with Kevin. There's so much we don't know yet on how long this thing is going to be, and for me, I'd like to stay positive that there's going to be a season, and when things present themselves saying, well, that's probably not going to happen, then I'll be like, well, what about a half a season? What about a quarter of a season? Just give us something.
Well, things are changing daily. I mean, multiple times a day, we're seeing numbers revised and moved around. And, I'm not going to get into, the political side of things or whatnot. But I just think that we're having so many discussions about, well, we know this is going to happen and this is going to happen. No, we don't. We don't know what is going to happen. I mean, we have, the best medical minds out there working on this, and they're not necessarily in consent. There's not a consensus among them about what the situation is. And while I do think you do want to have a plan in case things don't go right, you don't want to be caught off guard. So I don't think it's irresponsible to be, on the planning level for the NC2A to maybe be talking about some things like this. But I think it is so early to be thinking about it. We're not even to April 1 at this point. And let's say that states, most states, every state is different, obviously. What's happening in New York State is different than what's happening in Montana, so on and so forth. But, I think that, if we're going to be reaching this peak on May 1 or whatnot, and then there's the downward slope. I mean, I don't think if we're sitting here, if we're at June 1 and they're like, okay, I think we're starting to get a handle on this. We found some, we're 12 to 18 months away probably still from a vaccine, but there's still going to be some relief and treatments out there. I don't really believe that we're going to be looking at a year with no football. Could we see impacted? Maybe. Could we see scenarios of where there are limitations as to how many people we're putting in stadiums and whatnot? I guess. I mean, granted, we went through this whole point of where all these conference tournaments in basketball were going to happen, and then within 24 hours, we went from going as planned, limited fans, no fans, nothing. So, I mean, I think we're going to see similar things happening on this point. Anything that we're talking about here on March 27th is going to seem like a million years ago by April 4th.
So Kevin, you hit on something that's interesting on two different levels. One being player freedom, and then the other one being the institutional freedom based on the way this might be brought back in sectors. I think quadrants is the term that was used in the last couple of days in regards to there are hot spots in the country, unfortunately, and then there are other places where the impact has been more if the players themselves are allowed and freed up in some cases, but in other cases they're in a restricted portion of the country, then as long as there's air travel, you can bring them onto campus. You could do that, but then it brings the situation where there could be advantages and disadvantages to at what point is the institution up and running, therefore the football program up and running in certain parts of the country and not other parts of the country, and that possible uneven playing field.
Very good questions. I mean, things that, I don't think any of us necessarily have any answers for. Yeah, it'll obviously when we see 1 in 4 cases, and these are based off of numbers that I saw on Thursday. 1 in 4 cases in the country are in New York City. Obviously, places like Rutgers and whatnot are in much more risk than Boise State is. I keep picking on that part of the country, but there's nothing. There's not a lot going on. Their population density is not big. So I don't know. I just know that I'm preparing for business as usual to resume here at some point. I was hopeful May 1. The last couple of state of Ohio addresses we've had maybe has tampered down my expectations a little bit. Maybe it's going to be a little bit later than that, but we got the best and brightest working on this, and we'll get through it.
And as soon as Kevin mentions Rutgers and football moratorium, everybody out there can fill in their own blank of a joke there. I'm not going to go there because of the seriousness of the situation, but certainly there are enough number of analogies that can be drawn there.
No, they finally got a coach.
They got a coach, and he's won in the past.
Yep.
He has won in the past there. Not necessarily in this situation in the Big Ten. We did our Rutgers schedule preview this week, and the numbers and the layout of the competitiveness of that program over the last several years is, you guys know what the deal is. 21 straight in the Big Ten, 7-45 since they joined the league in the Big Ten. So it's not looking too good, but they got the guy in place who's done it before.
I think things are actually looking up at Rutgers, because I saw Michigan just got a commitment from a New Jersey defensive end who didn't even have a Rutgers offer. So right now it seems like the Scarlet Knights and Greg Schiano are recruiting at a higher level than Michigan.
I'm not going to touch
the
the
rank number 1127. It was a 4-digit ranking, I think. The rare 4-digit ranking kid.
Diamond in the rough.